Okay, well, we have no audience.
No, you're not live.
It's a new one.
It usually takes 20, 30 seconds.
Do.
There we go.
Well, it was fun while it lasted, but our stupid battery thing wasn't plugged in right. I thought I was plugged in.
Yeah. Actually, I can't see what the super chats were.
Oh, we got one person! Yay!
Yeah,
Oh, people are back! We're coming back here.
going on.
So here's the challenge I have. I was going through your super chats, and I think I was almost caught up, but I think I missed one or two. And because I've started a new chat, the super chats aren't there. So we're trying to figure out, with the help of my friends here, is there a way to go back in time and look at the other video and see if there was a way to see the super chats? And that I don't know. I need to get like 2 phones so I can, because so Jaden's Place, I know we were talking about your super chat. I think there was one more after that, but then I feel bad I missed it. If somebody comes back, hey, we got 92 people back. We almost got half the audience back. That's good. They're like, do you need a producer? Oh yeah, we were going to talk about what I did as a career beforehand, but so here's what happened. If you're wondering what happened, I have this $5 battery backup from Walmart because I forgot to bring mine, so I bought one today on my way down. Yeah, power bank, exactly. I had it plugged in to the phone, but it wasn't properly plugged into the power bank. So a few minutes ago, the phone went, like it was running out of power, so I made sure it was plugged in. And apparently this side, the USB-A connector that goes in the power bank wasn't plugged in correctly. So is there a way to look on my old video to see the chats?
It doesn't save the rolling commentary.
So,
that's the problem.
it should save the chats. Maybe they're not there yet.
Sometimes you can choose. Some do, some don't.
It should automatically. They always did in the past.
Not here. Now it's just comments on the video, like
really
after the fact. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, if
yeah, you see, so there's there's your stream, and then the only comments are from.
Maybe they haven't processed yet or something.
Yeah, but sometimes in stream VODs there'll be the rolling commentary.
Okay.
But
here's what I'm going to do. If you sent a super chat in the previous live stream and I didn't get to it, send me an email. I trust you. News@roadguyrob.com, NEWS at roadguyrob.com. Mention what the super chat was, and I'll do like a thank you credit maybe on my next video or something, because I want to make sure you get credit. I do feel bad that you missed out. So we're starting over again, hour number whatever, with super chat from William Parks. So I'm gonna go back here. William writes, hey Rob, if you come to Baltimore, check out the Fort McHenry Tunnel 2. It's the lowest point on the interstate highway system. I'm assuming, yeah, because it's going under the ocean. Have you been on the Fort McHenry Tunnel in Baltimore? I'm assuming it's one of the 2 interstate freeways. I'm trying to remember which is which. Yeah. I got it wrong in my video because the one tunnel was originally 95, and then it was like they built a new 95, and then that one became the belt route, and I mixed them up.
On my trip to the Northeast last month, when I used my tax report, I took the next bus to DC.
Oh, did you?
No, obviously you can't use the bridge. We went under a tunnel.
Right.
I don't know which one it is.
Right. So probably one of the 2.
Yeah, I know we didn't do the 45-mile detour.
Right. That you'd have to do now. Just looking to see here. Yeah, McHenry's 95 and Harbor's 895, right? It's Hill Tulchin. So, okay. Well, we're back in business, and before William Parks, I appreciate your super chat. We were talking with Tim, what's his name? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. About what I did as a job before this. So I worked in radio for everybody. Go ahead and keep going. I think had I been 20, 30 years older, I would have been a guy who would have jumped all over the country trying to be a top 40 radio DJ in different cities, and taking request calls and talking on top of the record right up to what they call the post, which is where the lyrics start, or there's a big crescendo with the drums or something. And so it's an art form because nowadays that's kind of less likely that the DJ talks over the music, and DJs pre-record everything mostly anyway outside of big cities. It's very rarely live, and so it's a lost art. Oh, and the other is the modern radio stuff counts down. One of my radio jobs where I would talk up the post, this is why right turn lanes are important, by the way. She's more likely to stop and not run it, or he, I'm not sure, because they have a safe place to pull out of traffic. Somebody asking, where are we at today? We're in Orem, Utah, on what a fan of strong towns would call a stroad. This one's probably about 3-4 miles long. At the beginning of the previous live stream, which should be the one we would still be on if my battery hadn't died, I actually mounted the phone to my car and we drove up and down it and saw in rush hour, but it's not a particularly pleasant road to drive on as it is. Now we're walking around and looking at it because Jovette writes, Strong said, like stroads. Oh, okay, Strong bad. Hey, Hamsar, you like the bus? Okay. So radio was something I did way too long because I knew it was a dying business, but I just couldn't help myself. And then I went back to school and said, I'm in my 30s. I need to get a real degree and quit goofing around with this stuff. So I went back, got a master's in transportation engineering, was all set to be an engineer. A number of things happened in my family. I had to turn down the job offer I had with Caltrans, an entry-level job with them. And then the pandemic hit, and a hobby turned into a job, and here we are now. So I'm back to making about what I made in radio, so which is not much. But it's hard, radio and this sort of thing. I've had friends or friends of friends ask, I want to get into YouTube. How do you get into it? And I said, well, how do you feel about losing money for like 4 years in a row? And they're like, oh, that doesn't sound fun. So then they don't do it. It's kind of like, you ever have that musician friend who just has to play a gig? And they're like, dude, go get a real job. And it's like, I know, but I got this gig up in Reno. I got to go play it. And they're so obsessed with music. And in my case, it's making media. I've been doing it since I was 8 years old, and I just can't stop. I told people if I won the lottery, which would be a miracle because I don't play, I'd wake up tomorrow morning and keep doing this. So I appreciate, because the YouTube revenue is so low and inconsistent. You have to do mid-roll ad breaks now, which I hate. So I have to pester you with ads in the middle of the video where I go to a commercial break and come back, because otherwise I wasn't making any money at all with the front roll. Your contributions on Patreon give me a steady income that I can at least keep gas in the car, food in my belly, and the insurance paid on the car. So that gets me out where I can get stuff done. And I have no clue what the future holds. All I know is another year goes by, and I go, well, somehow I financially survived this past year, so let's do another one. And so, as long as my health and personal life and finances let me keep doing it, I'm dumb enough. I'll just keep doing this as long as I can. But who knows? This time may come where I have to go get a real job. But it's just, transportation is so fascinating, isn't it? Because we use it every day, and it's just kind of in the background. We don't think about it that much, and it's fun to think about it. It's fun to see an industry where we spend billions of dollars, and I think besides our housing, transportation's like the number 2 expense if you count the cost of your car. It's something we dump a lot of money into, and you get to go fast, and the cars make zoomy sounds, and you know, what other kind of engineering do you get to use at 75 miles an hour? I guess aviation's pretty cool that way, but anyway. You could try Nebula, be on Nebula TV, right? A couple of people. I haven't ever been approached by Nebula, so I wouldn't be opposed to it. I don't know enough about it to. I know Practical Engineering, he's on there, but he's also a lot bigger. He's got like 20 times as many subscribers as me on YouTube. So. Uh-oh, another Burger King. I promise I won't spend that $2 there. I promise. So we're getting to something interesting down here. The reason I'm walking this far down is we got the mall here. And this is where the mall is unrecognizable from when I was first a student here decades ago, because back then it was just a run-of-the-mill early 2000s looking mall, you know, the big building in the middle and parking all the way around the sides. And now you kind of see there's some tall stuff popping up, or, you know, medium-sized stuff popping up. And I remember when they announced this project, they were going to turn University Mall into University Place, so you can live, work, and shop in one place. And thinking there's no way that this is actually going to happen. This is one of those pie in the sky ideas. So this is where I don't know if I dare cross, because this person's going to be trying to make their left. Okay, I'm not sure if they're going to go. I'm not sure about this car.
I'm going.
Okay.
Pedestrians right away, baby.
Well, yeah, pedestrians get run over. They're not looking.
Dead and right.
Okay, so we get to the mall here where we can take a look at it. What's funny is Dillard's moved from the other mall to this mall. And so they had a perfectly good Dillard's store at the other mall that they had to remodel into a Target. And then they came over here, tore down the store that was here to build another Dillard's. It seems kind of a waste, but I guess that's just the way modern retail works. And of course, the first Trader Joe's in Utah County opened the day I moved away.
Which is dying.
The Trader Joe's?
No, Macy's.
Oh, Macy's?
Macy's.
Oh, yeah. I guess Dillard's is in better shape. So I stay on the public right away here so the mall cops don't come by and get mad.
Where's your gift, old man?
Okay. So, you see they've got parking garage with an office building on top. Is just the beginning of trying to convert less used parking lot space into something else that makes money. And so this is the approach you can make. If you're appealing to somebody who's more environmentalist, you could say, oh, this will be more walking, and lower carbon footprint. But if you want to appeal to somebody who's more dollars and cents and business minded, you say, you got an underperforming mall. Now you got a bunch of people who are going to shop in your food court, maybe shop after work. You could share the parking, because during the day, not that many people may be going to the mall, but they'll be going to work. And then evenings, when everybody's going to the mall, they're not going to be going to work. So you can double up on the parking garage. You can double dip it. You get rents off of it. So you're not just a mall landlord leasing out to retail places and restaurants. You're also leasing out to Class A office space. You can do residential, because then you have customers who will come over here to the Trader Joe's or whatever, because they go, oh, it's the closest grocery store, I'll just run over and grab something. So you get synergy. You almost build like a little town center and almost like a private economy of your own, just with this thing going here. So I don't know, I think it's kind of a neat idea that I think I was more of a skeptic of until I saw, sorry, I'm in Super Chat, I don't want to miss it. No Diggity 247. Thank you very much, No Diggity 247. You're right. I visited Orem last fall and went to that Del Taco back there. Turning left out of there was a nightmare. Yeah, and I made a left out of that Del Taco. It's fun, especially now. There used to be another Del Taco in Provo I went to more often, and it did well. Del Taco, it seemed to have pretty good customer traffic going through it. And then all of a sudden one day there was a sign on it. When I came back to visit a few years after I moved away, it said, due to our lease not being renewed, we're gone, we're out of here. And I thought that's really a shame, because I like that Del Taco. I used to do the thing in grad school to survive where you'd get something really cheap, like just like the cheap tacos, you know, and you barely get up to, I think it was about $6. And if you spend that much, the print out of the receipt, it'll have a survey at the bottom. You fill out the survey, you get $1 off. I would fill out that survey. The next day I'd go to Del Taco. I spend my $6, now down to $5, get another survey. And I would just keep doing survey after survey after survey. This poor franchisee was making nothing off of me, but I was a grad student. I'm just trying to survive. And I'm lucky my cholesterol didn't just, totally go off the roof. But I was younger then, It's only in my early 30s back then. Not like my late 30s where I have to watch my cholesterol. But yeah, trying to make a left out of there is not great. And then the Provo Del Taco, which we won't see today because it's too far to walk, had the same problem. It was a 7-lane street like this one, no shoulders, no bike lanes or anything. And they managed to convince, it was short, it ran less than a mile. And it got enough people in the city warmed up to the idea that they could convert the outside lane to be bicycles. And so they have a nice separated, buffered bike lane. So you still have 2 through lanes, and the 3rd lane is open. So I went down there. I think I showed up in one of my median videos about 3 years ago. I had a series of videos about raised medians on streets and mentioned that. And what's that?
Sounds like you're talking about Cougar Boulevard.
Cougar Boulevard, which was Bulldog Boulevard at the time because it used to be named after the high school. And what better way to celebrate pride of a university in your community than having the main road into the university named after the high school? So Bulldog Boulevard, when I knew it, was 7 lanes, and they convinced enough people to do some raised medians. So I went out and interviewed a couple of people just on the street as they passed by. And a consistent theme I got out of college student age people who were passing by is they don't mind going from 3 lanes down to 2, but they don't want to go from 2 to 1. They still like the ability to be able to pass a slow moving truck and kind of get around slow traffic. And you can do that with 2 lanes. You don't need 3 each way. So that's, I think, in a community, probably an easy sell to go from 7 lanes down to 5 or 4, or 3 each way down to 2. But 2 to 1, that is a little bit harder. And so, something to think about. But that was that Del Taco there, and that was a real fun one. But rest in peace, Del Taco. But the reason they got kicked out of Provo is Raising Cane's came in and took the spot. And it's good. I like Raising Cane's. It's good chicken, but like Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's are like wrap around the block crazy, as you were mentioning when you worked over as a Mooyah Creamery or whatever you worked at. Mooyah. I mean, the thing is, Mooyah was good too, but nobody was wrapping around the block to go there either, So I don't know what it is about. I mean, waffle fries are fun, but they're not that fun,
Well, the funny thing is, when they did that, they didn't route it directly onto the street. They routed it up around the alley behind us, then through our parking lot.
So rather than letting the drive-through for jump onto the street, they would go up the alley, you're saying, and then through the Mooyah parking lot, which I'm sure made you guys feel great. Now people can't get to your business because the Raising Cane line is going through your shopping.
Even us workers found how to get to it.
Right.
And when it first opened, we're talking from the avenue, from roughly where Cougar Boulevard is, all the way up to the parking lot.
Right. Well, let's see if we can walk through or around this mall. I don't see any other super chats at the moment. I do see a couple of live chats. Don Chewy's for life. Alex Hayden. Hi, Alex Hayden. Alex was a buddy of mine, a coworker of mine, and Don Chewy's is a one-off Mexican thing. It was trying to copy. Anybody who knows Las Vegas, the chain Roberto's Taco Shop, it was a one-off knockoff of that. The chef actually had worked at Roberto's Taco Shop, and it was one of the best. Don Chewy's one of the best, just cheap, crispy chicken taco things with a fried shell right there. It was close to work, so we'd go there a lot for the Wednesday, dollar chicken tacos and stuff. was fun. And I think my Alex up in Portland now, so it's good to see him on the chat there.
And then a fried taco.
Waffle fries are amazing, but they need to be crispy. Yeah, I'd still eat them cold. They're just not. Paul Rurbaugh with a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, Paul. Paul writes, hello, Roadway Gentleman Robert. Just joining for a second to say thanks for the wonderful videos. Also, I am a rural to suburban person and struggle to relate with some of the topics, but find them interesting. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's everywhere started rural. You know, this street here was rural. I think even when my mom went to college, your mom goes to college, back in the early 1970s, this was still fairly rural. It was busy, it had shops on it, but it wasn't, you know, I think somewhere like in the 1990s, they widened this and made it the big concrete apron that it is. And as we were mentioning earlier, when you're playing by rural standards, it's like mini golf, right? You have no problem playing, you know, with putters and, you know, who goes first, it doesn't matter who takes what turn, you know. But once you're playing in the big leagues, like the Masters tournament, the rules matter a lot. What type of club you use, what the club is made out of. You have to get into all these details, and it could be like, oh, you're taking the fun out of the game. Can't you just hit the ball and have fun like you did with mini golf? Well, that's what traffic volume does to a street. And you're suddenly having, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of cars pass by a point every day. It's no longer mini golf. Even if mini golf is more fun, you want to play mini golf. You want to pretend that Orem is still the country town it once was in, you know, 1950. It's not. And so we have to play by different rules, and that makes the game more stressful. And, you know, a lot of people may choose to say, I don't like all this high density, I want to move out of the community. And it's, you know, it's a shame they feel they have to do that, but that's the wonderful thing about America. You can go move somewhere else. But you say, well, it's America, I don't want to have high density in this community. Well, when the land underneath the building becomes worth significantly more than the building that sits on it, that's the free market telling you something. And it's really hard to fight the free market. If you get in and fight the free market, you're going to have a hard time. And so, well, maybe I'm just walk straight through the mall, and if the mall cops get mad, we'll walk out. So we can kind of walk through and see, and say, oh, I'm here to inspect the pipes because I'm wearing an orange vest.
That's actually something I would kind of like your opinion on.
So you're asking my opinion on what?
So up in Ogden,
in Ogden
goes through Weber State University.
So the bus actually goes through the university, the bus rapid transit up in Ogden. Okay.
Busway.
Okay.
Do you think they should have done something similar here?
I think UTA wanted to go through the Brigham Young University campus as well. But the trouble they ran into is BYU's privately owned. And so they, I heard rumors.
I was also asking, like, here about the mall.
So,
You have to cross the stroad over there.
Right. I think the problem is the bus, the goal of the bus is to run between the two universities and the two rail line stops. And detouring it through the mall would slow it down quite a bit. So they have a really good stop. We'll walk over there. A really good BRT stop by the mall. But in the case of Brigham Young University, the rumors I heard, but these are rumors, I can't back them up with anything, is that the university administration at the time, it was a different university president, was more skeptical of the value that the bus rapid transit would provide the university, and didn't feel comfortable signing away a long-term lease, decades and decades, to the Utah Transit Authority. And that same summer, the road that was supposed to carry the bus got demolished and permanently removed, which was good for the campus. It makes the campus more walkable. The campus used to have this very busy road through the middle of it. And I haven't walked this way behind the parking. I've always driven around the backside. This was all surface parking when I was a student, so it's very weird to see a garage. And so it makes a really nice walkable campus, but because you don't have that big road full of cars and lots of stoplights and pedestrians and stuff and skywalks, and it's all gone. It's like a big park. It's very pretty. But I just find it interesting that that project mysteriously happened the same summer that there was discussion about where the bus rapid transit was going to go. So the bus rapid transit goes around the outside of the university. And then there was going to be, they planned 3 stops. Two of the stops they built, but the middle one, the neighborhood was scared of it. They just pictured like dozens and dozens of homeless people walking. Mall cop doesn't seem to care yet.
They're going to do a first stop right by the elementary school.
Yes, so they said, oh, it's by an elementary school, and they just had the scary vision that there were going to be hundreds and hundreds of, an endless stream of scary unhoused people coming down from Salt Lake County on the bus. And that didn't happen. They found, oh, it's mostly students riding this thing. And then the students complaining, hey, UTA, they're stupid. They didn't put a bus stop right where I wanted it. And how come we want to petition UTA to build a bus stop there. And so now the community likes it. And they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead and build it. So, and that's something that maybe to think about if you ever get involved with transportation planning and projects and city councils and things is, okay, build part of what you want with the back of your pocket thinking, maybe once it's built, people will warm up and then they'll actually want to build the thing later all the way.
There will actually be another project like that at UVU.
So you're saying there's another project at UVU?
Well, there's going to be. Right now it's just the one station on the south end of the university. They're going to have it go around the north end and have 2 or 3 stops.
So you're saying that they'll have the BRT will go around, but that'll hurt their performance, won't it?
It'll make it slower.
Yeah, so that's where you got to trade off. Is with transit you have speed and you have coverage, and so trying to make the bus speedy, well, you just have 2 stops, one where I'm getting on and one where I'm getting off, and no other stops. But then that hurts ridership because all the people in between who would have hopped on the bus. This is fascinating to me. They have an entire plaza here, private property, of course, but with the condos and everything. This was all surface parking. Not that long ago, I parked in this. So it's kind of neat because with the condos and stuff, it gives some areas. I guess you can't have your dog in there. They don't want that to be a place that you open the condo door and say, okay, puppy, go do your stuff.
Or other animals.
So I can't, it's not like all those memes on the internet of the no dogs allowed sign and there's a cat sitting right on top of it.
Or that guy that had that emotional support alligator. And,
I haven't heard of the emotional support alligator.
And it went missing, actually. I guess some people stole his alligator when he was in Georgia and threw it in the swamp.
Oh, well, at least he's back with his own kind, if alligator. Unless it's a domesticated alligator, in which case maybe he wouldn't know how to handle it.
He took it to school, but yeah, kids, I guess. But.
Mary had a little alligator.
Yep.
It came with her to school one day, which was against the rules. I have a playground area for kids. I'll try not to film that because in case there's any kids playing, but I try in my videos to adults in public spaces, too bad. That's just the nature of being in a public space. U.S. law, if you're out in public, you can get filmed. I had a guy in Minnesota come up to me and say, I am not giving you my consent to film me. And I said, okay, well, stay out of my shot. There's not a lot I can do. But as you've seen maybe in some of my videos, anytime in the background there's incidentally a child or something, I try to blur their face because, I don't know, it's just, I'd feel bad if there was like a custody thing and like a parent and their child had fled the other parent who doesn't have custody and is maybe violent, and then the non-custodial parent was watching my video and goes, oh, I found the kid. The kid's in, LA or whatever, some small town in Ohio or something, whatever my video is. And so I don't know, I just feel like minors, it's good to blur their face. License plates are a different story because there was a law, I think in 1994, that says the only, if you,
The state's property.
right, license plate's the state's property, but data about whose that license plate belongs to, really only law enforcement and the DMV can look that up, the court. But anybody else, they can get out of the license plate the make and model of the car. But that's no secret, because if you look at the cars in the parking lot, you're like, oh, I wrote down that guy's license plate. I wonder what kind of car it is. And it's like, well, obviously a, you know, first or second gen CRV, right? So but this is interesting here. This was a Mervyn store that was on this site that they tore down when Mervyn's closed. And I was filming, I think, the demolition just for fun, and I watched a guy drive right over the curb. Didn't want to wait. Just some guy in a Ford Explorer just went right over the curb. And over here is a Costco. This is definitely an oversized parking lot that there's a lot of development potential for, because they'll never, ever, ever fill it. In fact, a lot of the parking lot you can see is barriered off. Although there's a car inside the barrier, so I'm not sure how that works. But it's definitely still overparked. But it's nice to see at least the previous city councils working with the mall to allow them to get some development. You have condos and stuff for sale down there. The Courtyard by Marriott Hotel. So the transit center used to be over there to the right. There was a place the old bus route would go, but it drove me crazy because the transit center slowed the trip down so much. I would never, in graduate school, transportation professor made us ride the bus, I think 20 times or something, you know, because he said, you're going into this profession, you got to have some experience riding transit. The BRT line wasn't in place, but I found that it's a functional hierarchy. You ride the commuter rail, pleasant experience every time, loved it. If I was up in Salt Lake County and I rode the light rail system, great, had a good time. Local bus service was always, like, sometimes the bus wouldn't come by, so I waited half an hour for the bus and the bus didn't arrive, and I read the schedule wrong, or maybe the bus was broken down. And the Bus Rapid Transit gives me an experience that's almost as good as the light rail. And so that's why I'm a bit of a champion of it, or at least I'm more positive. I'm trying to be objective, but more positive on it than I would be a normal bus, because I've had good experiences with it. But it will never be up to the snuff of a train. But when we get back to public property here, I'll stop and you see the mall over there. So that part's still the old 1960s, 70s mall. They've added some things onto it. The mall has been really good about grabbing economic development opportunities. Like there's a regional furniture store that Warren Buffett owns, R.C. Willey, and they were in a big box shopping center, and the mall poached them and made them an anchor store of the mall. So things are kind of thinking outside the box as regular retail stalls out. You can try other ways to try to keep the mall vibrant. And doing all this stuff outside, what the heck is that? Somebody's doing a burnout or failing at it. But, what is it, a BMW? No, it's a Mitsubishi, even more. All right, let's see what this doofus is up to. Here he goes. Either that or he's learning the clutch. That is not the car to learn the clutch in. It's good to see. Like I say, we're talking about pad sites. This is all just parking. And so using just the parking lot, they're able to do a lot more development and make more money. So yeah, I think was the transit stop used to be right here where this hotel was, I think. Because I think that's what was on the site. But I guess they don't use the transit stop anymore because the Bus Rapid Transit bypasses it. Okay, we're back on public right away. Let's stop a minute and look at some chats.
On the routes that actually use the transit center no longer exists.
Oh, is it because did it get replaced with the bus rapid transit?
No, it was the 811 Draper.
Okay, let's see here. Make sure I'm not missing super chats first. Oh, we got quite a few. Wow, okay. So we had Paul join earlier with a very generous super chat talking about saying thanks, and then as a rural to suburban person, he struggles to relate with some of the topics but still finds them interesting. Then comes in again with another very generous super chat, writes, "You're right, I moved out of my hometown because it got too populated. I wish I could have stayed there, but I couldn't handle a 10-minute drive taking an hour. Our quarter-acre lot brought me 200 acres in the mountains." Well, hey, that sounds like a happy ending for you. You get basically don't have your own forest. So, but that's the way the market's supposed to be, right? People in Orem who are concerned that their community is changing, becoming more dense, maybe they have a big lot that their house is on that you could build another house in the backyard or a house in the front yard, but they don't want to deal with that mess. But if that's legally allowed, that makes the land worth more money, because now you could have 2 or 3 people living on the same lot with their own houses. And in turn, they should be able to cash that out to somebody who wants to build those houses and then go live a rural life farther outside of town. Because what they're telling the market is, what's more important to me, being close to the amenity or having space? And they're trying to have both. They're like, well, I like to be close to the amenity and have space. But if at a certain point you go, well, how much is being close to the amenity worth it to me? $100,000, $200,000? Like at a certain point, that lot's going to keep going up in value. And at a certain point, the money is going to be, you know, if somebody came to you and said, I will give you 1.1 million just for the lot. You're like, all right, let's go buy a really nice house outside of town because I'm retired or I work from home. I don't really care about being close to the amenity. That's the way markets are supposed to work. And so it's disappointing to see zoning and density restrictions break that. Because now what's happening is you get the situation where it's like the land is limited. You can't do anything with the land, but you end up with what happened in Los Angeles, which some people call mansionification, where you have your house, but you're not allowed to build additional houses on the lot or knock the house down and build a duplex or whatever. And so because the lot keeps going up in value, but it's division, right? You divide it by how many households can legally have a house on that lot. So if the zoning says divide by 1, you can only have 1 building on that lot. What happens as the lot goes up in value? Somebody comes in, knocks the house down, builds a mansion. Because divide by 1, it's the only people who can afford it. You know, LA can do that because there's a lot of people who want the space. But what if the city of Los Angeles or Orem or anywhere else really softened that up and said, nah, the lot's worth a lot of money. You can have 5 families on there. Well, now this $500,000 lot is not divide by 1 and you have to build a mansion on it. It's divide by 5. It's a $100,000 lot. Well, that starts to be more attainable for regular people, middle-class people. And then the person who's like, oh, I'm so sad, they're going to knock down my house and I'm going to miss out on the old Orem that I remember, or the old Los Angeles I remember. Well, they can move to somewhere far outside of town because they don't need to come into town that often, like you did with your 300 acres. So congratulations to you on that. That's the way it should be. Okay, next super chat. So that's a thanks again to Paul Rohrbaugh. NVN8V, you taking off? Hey, thanks for coming by again. It was so great to have you come. And your knowledge of UTA and stuff. It was fun.
I'm a public transit nerd, unfortunately.
You're mostly going home on transit, right? Because it's starting to get dark. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, be safe out there, okay?
I'm trying. Right now I'm heading up to Ogden.
Okay.
Be in Salt Lake now.
Who with?
It's a car rental service agency.
Okay.
I'm trying to find anywhere that's willing to give me interviews.
Yeah, I mean, car rental, just don't show me ride a bike. No, just kidding.
I have a license, thankfully, so.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it goes well for you. So email me and let me know how it goes.
I also have a second one actually on Wednesday down in Springville. I'm trying to figure out how to reach that one.
They don't have enough transit to get down that way?
The only transit literally kind of goes on Main Street and a little bit east. This place is really far west, down by the freeway.
Oh.
So,
Is it bikeable if you can get down that far?
yes, but the endurance for me is
Oh, okay.
because it has this nice 50 kind
Yeah.
What you see right here is all up.
Well, be safe in the dark. Don't get run over and smushed.
Yeah, I got too much experience in the dark, unfortunately.
Okay. You got a nice bright coat, so that helps. So.
Yeah, I just got this morning actually.
Oh, cool. Hey, good luck with your interviews. All right. And thanks for coming by. Okay. What were we talking about? 300 acres. No. NVN8V writes, living in Reno. Thank you, by the way, for your super chat. This isn't just a comment. This is a very nice two-figure super chat from NVN8V, who writes, living in Reno, Nevada area, I feel that NDOT, the Nevada Department of Transportation, shoehorns unusually undersized roundabouts into appropriate intersections based on projected growth. I'd say more, but comment limited. Love your work. Well, thank you, NVN8V. One thing to think about with a roundabout, then maybe the NDOT's thinking this, or, well, there's probably two thoughts. There's like 2 or 3 thoughts that come to mind here. So one is they only have so much space, and roundabouts, because they don't come to a right angle, they've got the tapers to them. They do take, they're probably trying to squish like what was a 2-lane each way intersection to a single lane roundabout and try to fit it in the space so they don't have to buy anything. Maybe that's part of it. Another thing is the tighter the roundabout is, the more traffic calming effect it has. So if it's on a street where they're trying to keep the cars moving and hustling along, that could be frustrating, but you still need to slow traffic to go around a roundabout, because roundabouts break if the cars go too fast. So if you have a situation where the most of the traffic is going this way, but it intersects with a less busy street going this way at a roundabout, and you can enter the roundabout very easily and the circle's really small, you can go through that thing at 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour, and it gets to the point where it accidentally turns into a 2-way stop where, yeah, somebody entering the roundabout from the side street should have the right of way and the busy street should yield to them, but they don't, because they don't have to slow down for the roundabout, so they just nail through the roundabout, go around the little tiny circle really fast, and then it turns it from being a roundabout into a 2-way stop. So that you get it nice and tight, everybody behaves more like they're supposed to. The other thing to think about is maybe they're planning to reduce the street from 2 lanes each way to 1, which at first I agree with you. I go, I don't want to reduce the size of the street. There's plenty of traffic as there is. But as we mentioned earlier, I think in the other live stream, the street, when you have a traffic signal, it kind of ping pongs. It's like a bunch of cars all bunch up on the red, and then they get a green, and then a big chunk of cars called a platoon goes through, and so the road needs to be really wide, like a heartbeat. Boom, 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 right? But in between the booms of platoons of cars, like right now, because there's a red light down there, there's no cars using the road at all. Roundabouts spin traffic out of them randomly, so you can kind of keep the road in use all the time. It's not as crowded as a boom of like a big platoon of traffic, but it's going like a car, and so because the road's in use more often, even if it's less intense, 1 lane might be able to carry as much as the 2-lane road did before, or better, because think about a freeway. Freeways have cars constantly going on them. You imagine how bad a freeway would be if all of a sudden there was a red light and all the traffic on the freeway stopped and sat there for 30, 40 seconds, and then got a green and everybody got going again, and you tried to empty out that big line. Freeways would have to be twice as wide because of how big that chunk of cars is that all come away from a green. But because freeways are random arrival and just kind of keep flowing, you don't have that problem. And so a 2-lane freeway can move a lot of cars. And so maybe that's the thinking, is maybe NDOT's doing narrower roundabouts because it's a way of, I don't know. It would be interesting to speak with them. I don't know anybody over in that part of NDOT. So come to think of it, the southern NDOT, I don't know too many people either. Paul writes again, thanks again. I mean, Paul's being very, very generous tonight. Paul writes, there are private databases of license plates from cars that drive around with cameras. I used to see them weekly in the middle of the night. Their cameras have bright infrared lights and showed up on my security cameras. Okay, that's good to know. I just know that there may be databases of plates, but being able to link the plate to an owner is, because of some federal laws, it's not as easy as it was in like the 1980s. And so it's something where I don't feel as obligated to blur everybody's plate out like I would if I knew there were really super public database, publicly available databases. Okay, got another very generous super chat. This is from Zondera F. Sprack, which I'm sure I'm pronouncing wrong. Zondera F. Sprack writes, I honked as I went by you. Yeah, the car that honked, I waved hi. That must have been you. I honked as I went by you earlier, but didn't have time to stop and chat. Thank you for your videos. You're a bastion of what YouTube should be. Keep it up. Well, I appreciate hearing that, because there are times where I think about it, I go like, man, like, I could just put out, like, if I could convince people to just keep watching me anyway, which they wouldn't, and just do like a lifestyle vlog where every day I'm like, this is the cereal I'm eating for breakfast, and this is my hot take on the sports team, and just all kinds of crap. That's like, and then people will still tune in anyway. I could make a lot of money, But what would be the point? You're not tuning in to see me. You're tuning in to see transportation. I'm just trying to make it a little bit fun. And so it's the transportation that's the fun part. And so that's what I'm saying, and that's why I realized I've got to do something different. If I want YouTube to be good, I have to put out good content. That takes me a month. You get a video every month, not because I'm lazy, it's because it takes me about a month to get the video done by the time I figure out the topic and interview somebody and travel somewhere and edit it. And they're kind of stacked on top of each other, where at any given time there's about 5 videos in progress, but they just kind of work their way through the chain. And so I really appreciate the kind words. I really appreciate the money, because that helps me be able to afford to go find the story and capture it. And they really are stories. This is news. But instead of covering some small town, and being a little local reporter in, some little town in Ohio, the town is the transportation industry. It's like you're viewers to a PBS affiliate for transportation, kind of. And that's the model I'm trying to copy. I do run ads in the YouTube videos that YouTube provides. I try to have ad-free available on Patreon and on my website for people who contribute on Patreon, so you don't have to put up with it if you want to binge a bunch of them. But and some of that is YouTube's going to run the ads regardless, because YouTube's providing a platform. Video streaming is very expensive. I pay for it for the website to have ad-free, and so I've realized, oh wow, the viewership and the amount of servers and everything to serve even to this live stream, YouTube's taking a small cut of even the super chats, because they're providing us a service. And I don't mind them taking that cut. It's reasonable, because they've been able to stream to hundreds of people tonight, including you, reasonably good 360p video. It's probably mostly pretty good, to all over the world, and to wherever you're watching. And so that's a good service. Costs money. Glad to have it. In the videos, you're going to see ads. YouTube keeps about half of that, because they're providing the platform. But if it wasn't for the platform, we wouldn't have found each other. So I don't mind. Patreon, 93% of it, I think, after credit card fees and Patreon fees, I think 93% of it goes right back so I can eat tacos and make videos. So that's why I push that really hard, and I'm very appreciative of that. So, but thank you for your kind words. Okay, where are we at? We got, let's see. A honked, thank you. Okay. Paul writes again. Hey, Paul is becoming mega donor tonight. I appreciate that. Paul writes, I've been talking at Art Stone about semi-truck trailer lengths, and that might make a good video. Down in Florida, we've got 57-foot trailers everywhere. plus 58 plus 53 turnpike doubles. State differences might be relevant to figure. Yeah, and I haven't ever approached that. That's an interesting topic. I haven't approached it from the truck perspective. I've always approached it from the design vehicle perspective. So the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials, or is it Federal Highway Administration? One of the two has a manual called the Green Book, and it's particularly for rural highways and stuff. Like how big, how the corner, how round does that corner need to be, depending on the vehicle that's going around the corner. So a normal shopping center, it might be kind of tight because a passenger car can make a pretty tight corner. A bus is going to be bigger. A single unit semi truck with one trailer, like you'd see in California, and then you get to these double or triple units like you're talking about, you're going to need huge, very long trailers. You got to have these huge turning circles, and heaven help you, you got to make a U-turn for the thing. That's like a city block to get them all the way around. So it would be fun to see the story I'd be interested in, and I'd have to find the right people to talk to, is when we were talking about Orem over there and urbanizing State Street, that's all about trying to tighten things up, get people to slow down, and particularly cars. What happens is you build a nice big sweeping turn for the truck, and then doofus like me comes in my little tiny Honda, and I nail that corner at 40, blowing right through the crosswalk, right? So they say, okay, well, because Rob's an idiot, we got to tighten that corner up. Fair. But now that you tighten it up, well, what happens to the truck? Well, the truck tries to go around the corner, it drives up on the sidewalk. So what do? You're in trouble either way. Where are we at? Let's see. But yeah, thanks again, Paul. That's very appreciate that. Nick Pastanix, and I apologize for pronouncing your name right or wrong. Hey, Rob, what do you think about robo-taxis from an urban planning perspective, like Waymo in San Francisco? And not like the Elon Musk vaporware ones? Oh, did I say that out loud? No, the robo-taxis are fascinating for like a number of reasons. So one of them is, we talked earlier about, we're baked into this assumption, if you want suburbs to work, you have to have unlimited land, unlimited fuel, unlimited time, and none of those are true. Maybe in Texas, unlimited land, unlimited fuel, but like you'd still have an unlimited time. But the last one is making an assumption that everybody has access to a vehicle. That they have, and if you look at driver license people, it's age 16 and under, don't have a license. They don't have access to use the transportation system. And elderly people don't. People who don't feel comfortable driving don't. People who have an injury, have Parkinson's disease, MS, that sort of thing. And so robo-taxis greatly increases the access people have. If they're going to live in places that are not walkable and probably won't be walkable for another 50 years, they would have access to be able to participate in the economy without a driver license. And from a fairness standpoint, that's wonderful. So they have that. Second, freeway capacity. The funny thing about freeways is that the formula for cars moving down a freeway and trying to maximize the number of cars through a given point is kind of a similar formula to water, right? Or any fluid dynamics, simple algebra equation where you're looking at the flow rate, multiplying it by the volume of material, and you get, how fast it's going by the point, by how many things are going by the point. And so if you increase the speed, you're able to double and triple the capacity till you hit a certain point. So the challenge you have with flow rate for cars is human drivers, it doesn't double. So when you go from 30 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour, you don't double the capacity of the road, because we could drive this close together at 30, but at 60 we start spreading out because reaction time, we need to be able to hit the brake. And the exciting thing about a robo-taxi is if all the cars are robo-taxis, well, those cars could be bumper to bumper as fast as you want to go. To increase capacity, you just keep speeding up the cars faster and faster and faster till you hit the, braking limits of what the car, the computer can handle and the tires and brakes can handle. So you could take the existing freeways we have now at 65 miles an hour, and instead of people falling 1 to 2 seconds apart, you can follow like 0 seconds apart and double the capacity of the freeway without having to pour a single square of concrete. Free. immediately, double the capacity. We'll use it, right? All growing areas do consume the good, and so it's not a solve all problems that, oh, we'll never have traffic again, but it buys us, 10, 20 years till we eat that capacity up. That's pretty exciting, and so I think that's neat. My concern is whether it's going to happen. It's almost as if, does it seem like this to you, that development of self-driving stuff has kind of been like a log curve? It's like we got from here to here really quick in like just a few years. And then it's like to get that much better took another 5 years, and then that much better took another 5 years. And it's like to close that gap to where it becomes accessible, it could be like 30 more years. Not because like we aren't almost there, but like that refining it, this is another 5 years and another 5 years and another 5 years. We are at a point where even some doofus as poor as me, I'm looking at used Priuses, right? Because my Honda is at some point I'm at 340,000 miles, right? And the green Honda got rear-ended, but that's a story for later. It's not my fault, but I don't have it anymore. So I'm looking at used Priuses, and they have really neat adaptive cruise control and automatic emergency braking and things that beep at you when you go across the line. And I'm test driving this car going, it's pretty amazing that under $20,000 now, which is falling into, with the right financing, my price range, that we're getting to a point where that kind of tech has trickled its way down to where it's available to me. And so I think that's kind of how we get there, is the driver assistance stuff in the cars just keeps gradually getting better and better and better until one day you have a robo-taxi, but not yet. So yeah, thanks again to, where did that go? Nick Pastanix, thanks again very much, Nick, for that. Okay, next one. We have a super chat from Jesse KC7SIK, which is either a ham radio license or it's a very weird last name, and I'm sorry to make fun of it. Have you been on Utah Highway 85 Mountain View Corridor? Yeah, yesterday. It feels like an interstate, but has stoplights, and it's very frustrating to drive on. Okay, this is a story I know very, very well because I grew up on the west side of Salt Lake. And one of the alignments, when I was in high school, they were looking at the dream of a Western, I think that's when they came up with the name Mountain View Corridor. It was right around 2004 is when I was moving off to college. And this idea of a highway at 5600 West had been floating around forever. And they worked hard to put the plan together. They went through the environmental impact statement. It's where I got a lot of exposure to transportation for the first time because I had never seen this sort of stuff. And so I thought, okay, well, this is cool. Let's learn in the process of how they plan a freeway from the ground up. And one of the alignments would have knocked down houses that were within eyesight of my childhood home. I was in favor of it because it would mean that the street I grew up on would have an off-ramp from the freeway. I don't know if my parents would have liked it. I'd moved away, but going to visit them would be really easy. But they picked the other alignment that was farther east. So I went to a meeting about 2009. And at the time, no, it's 2008. It was right before the crash. Because they named the project Mountain View Corridor, not Mountain View Freeway. And I think it was in anticipation that maybe the way to fund this was to use tolling. So private-public partnerships have been really big in Texas. Texas wanted to build a California-sized freeway system, but didn't want to raise taxes to pay for it because of Texas. So they thought, oh, what if we went to the banks, big investors. They're looking for a steady income for like a pension fund or something, right? So we can take the principle of the pension fund and then at TxDOT's direction, build this toll road, charge tolls on it. The tolls will make a profit, so not only paying off the original loans, but also generate income that would go back to the pension fund. So you basically turn the road into an investment mechanism. It's a good theory because the idea is you have no... It looks like a freeway because you don't have to raise taxes up front to pay for it. Normally what you do is you take out a bond and then you'd raise some kind of a tax, a sales tax or a gas tax, and then you pay that bond off. But when you're done, you have a road that doesn't have a charge to use it. A toll would indefinitely have a charge because it's generating revenue. It's an investment. It's a dividend. It's a profit on that original principal amount. So one of the toll roads through Orange County, California are called the Foothill Transportation Corridor. And so having a road, Salt Lake County, called the Mountain View Corridor, it kind of rings like a toll road, you know. And they were going down that road. They had a public meeting where they were getting, I can't remember, it was Goldman Sachs or one of those big banks, investment banks, was there. And it was kind of sketchy what they were, shady, what they were proposing. So they were meeting with the State Transportation Commission, and they were saying, well, here's what you do. You set an artificially low toll, like $4, and you leave it there for like 10 years, and then the development happens around that $4 toll. And once the development's in place, you know, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, and whatever, and people get accustomed to using the road as part of their career, then you jack it up to the intended toll. So now it costs $10 to drive on it or whatever. And you have a captive audience because it's not like they're going to move away. And then that's when we start making our money. And I'm listening to this going, I don't know, that sounds a little bit dicey to me. Thankfully, a couple of, people you wouldn't think would be aligned with each other all kind of came together. One was a state representative named Ed Main, he's since passed away, who stood up, and he was kind of this in a state full of Republicans, this kind of old Democrat, representing the city of West Valley. And he goes to the Transportation Commission, he says, well, that's sure a nice tool that they're talking about, but, I go out in my garage. My wife says I have too many tools, and I've got a lot of neat tools, but I don't use every tool on every job, and this is the wrong tool for the wrong job. And apparently he had enough cachet that alone, turned the discussion. You had, I think it was the mayor of Saratoga Springs or somebody out there talking in terms of there being reference to 1984 toll roads and proll roads. In other words, the commoners would be driving the surface streets and the rich people would be driving the toll roads. But the biggest opponent to tolling of all was the Utah Trucking Association, who basically did their analysis, and they said, this freeway is going through the trucking warehouse corridor. If you're looking on Google Maps at home, look at the west side of Salt Lake where this Highway 85 is running through. They built it partially. The 201 freeway, it's the 85 freeway west of downtown Salt Lake City. Turn on your satellite imagery and look at how many warehouses there are. And it seems like every trucking company in the West seems to have their headquarters off that 201 freeway. So that is truck central there. But to drive the Mountain View Corridor, Highway 85, with tolls for trucks with multiple axles, I think it was running about $35 one way to run the whole corridor. And he had a PowerPoint slide, and he clicked it, and then the slide came up, and it said, trucks won't drive it. And I think that right there, I think that was the moment tolling died. So what do you do if you're building a 20-mile long freeway with very tight money? You don't have big federal money coming in to help you pay for it like they did when I-15 got built. How does a state pay for a freeway if they can't lean on tolls? Because the nice thing about tolls is these investment firms come in, they write you a check for $2 billion, you give it to a contractor, and 5 years later, boom, you have a completely finished highway. And the most expensive part of the highway isn't the land or even the concrete for the freeway, the signs, it's the bridges. Every time the freeway goes over the cross streets, you have to build a building that can hold a semi-truck. That costs a lot of money. And so what UDOT got clever. They said, why don't we do phased implementation? What if we started building something now, fully designed for when the bridges go in there? We don't have to chop up a single piece of concrete, but everywhere where there's an off-ramp, instead of building the bridge, which would cost us, maybe $50 or $100 million per cross street, because you build 2 bridges, right? Everybody has to take the off-ramp, go through a light, and then come back on the on-ramp. Notice that the next time you're on Mountain View, when you get north of Harriman, most of the corridor north of Old Bingham Highway is the street. You'll notice that it's like, every time I get to a stoplight, we curve to the right and then we curve back to the left. And imagine for a moment, if I didn't curve, what if I went straight? And you'll see it kind of lines up with where the curve comes back. And imagine there's a bridge there. Because someday, not that many years from now, 5, 6, 7 years as they can fund it, there will be a bridge there. And you won't have to exit and come back on through the light. You'll be able to go right over the top. It's first time I saw that done in modern times was Nevada, the 215 Beltway. If you ever spent any time in Nevada in the last 20 years, the Beltway was, all the exits were that way. You went through the light and came back on. And then they've slowly, one at a time, been adding all the bridges as they can afford it. And what that allows the state to do is spread the cost of building the freeway out over more like 15 to 20 years rather than trying to do it all in 5, which they wouldn't have the money to do. So I know it's frustrating now to go through those lights. I know when you get down to the Harriman area, you're actually driving on Texas-style frontage roads, the feeder roads, and they're going to build the freeway in the middle. There's a big, giant field in the middle. That's coming 2027. They'll start building the freeway through Harriman. So it's just kind of neat. It's trying to get in, it's engineering. You're trying to get in and solve a problem within constraints. And the constraints are money. And you only have so much money. So if you can't build it all now, you build it out over time. The good news is they did plan ahead. There's room for the bridges. They will add them. It's just a matter of money, So if you can convince enough of your neighbors and friends to agree to some kind of big tax hike so they can pay for it sooner, then we'll get it built sooner. So if they go the other way and cut the gas tax, it might take longer. But it will get eventually built. So thanks again to Jesse for that super chat. I appreciate it. Up next, Nathan Waring. Thank you very much for your double-digit super chat. Nathan writes, I saw you on Practical Engineering's bridge video over on Nebula today. Okay, so apparently it launched tomorrow, 8 a.m. on YouTube. I got to do a collab with Practical Engineering. He invited me and I wasn't going to say no. So that's a lot of fun. So check that out. If you're on Nebula, I guess you can watch it now. I'm not, because I don't know much about Nebula. I probably should pay for it. But if you're not on Nebula, tomorrow 8 a.m. Central Time is when Grady Hillhouse told me it's going to be there, and I'm looking forward to watching myself. I'll try to send a link out too through the YouTube social media post thing. But great collaboration. Nathan writes, what prospects do you have to do more what prospects do you have to do more with others in the future? That was my first collab, so I'm open to more. The problem is all the other people are so much bigger than me that it's difficult to get them warmed up to saying, let's, because I benefit from it, right? Like tomorrow at 8 a.m., his 3.5 million subscribers are going to see this little podunky medium YouTuber, and it's pretty exciting. I'm excited to see new people find us and what we're doing, But but that said, I'd have fun collabing with medium and small YouTubers too. I don't know them. It's kind of funny. Because I'm busy doing this as my job, I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube as much as I should watching this topic, because this is the topic I watch for work. So in my free time, I tend to watch car reviews or cat videos or YouTube poops, but that's another guilty pleasure. And so I ought to get to know better some of these other medium channels, because it would be fun to, collabs are fun. It's fun to jump in and share perspectives across, and have audiences commingle and see what kind of overlaps we have. So, but I'm happy to hear the Nebula video came out today. That's a lot of fun. So thanks again to Nathan for your super chat. And I'll let you know if more collabs pop up in the future. I'm sure there will be. So Paul's back. Thanks again, Paul, Paul super chats in, said, hey, I'm done for now. Glad you appreciate my donations. You deserve so much more. I'm just glad to help you out. Have a good night, and I'll check the replay later. Well, thanks again, Paul, and hope you have a good night too. Hey, Dave Pruitt. That's somebody from college, my undergrad days. Dave and I lived, David Pruitt with a super chat here in the double digit club here. Thank you very much, Dave. David and I, so before I read a super chat backstory, lived in the same apartment complex. He was one stairwell over. And so being, of the kind of nerd origin, we had a lot in common. That's this friend of mine here too. We were in the same group, friend group. But a really sad story. Just outside of our window, there was a mid-block crosswalk on another busy state highway. It's the one that goes up the canyon. And unfortunately, some girl was crossing, college girl, and three of the, Connor remembers, 3 of the 4 lanes stopped. The 4th lane didn't. And it was devastating for everybody. I mean, she died. Some people saw it out their windows. I think David Pruitt heard it. I wasn't home, so I wasn't around. And I think the guy who hit her was really messed up. I think it really was commuting up to home to Park City or something, and just, there was no signalization or anything. It was one of these, technically the driver messed up, but really the crosswalk messed up. It was a bad crosswalk. It was something that was, I think if you go back and look at historic aerial photography, it was there back when it was a much smaller highway, and as the highway got widened, they just would paint the crosswalk there. And so David Pruitt was one of my friends, along with a law student, I forget his name, Leslie was his last name, who he really put it together, this law student. And he put together a public meeting where we presented ideas we had to improve the crosswalk. And to the credit of the police department, the university, representative from state legislature in the city, UDOT, we had a lot of people come out to listen to ideas. Ultimately, they didn't pick any of our ideas. They just removed the crosswalk and put a barrier so people couldn't cross. But that worked. Nobody's been hit there since. If you're going to cross, you're going to jaywalk, so at least you're paying attention. But we were pitching ideas of like hawk beacons, where you push the button and it flashes the red, a signal. But that UDOT told us they couldn't do that because with the signal timing, they said that the wait time for the pedestrian might be a minute or 2 minutes. It'd be a really long wait, and they were afraid people wouldn't obey it. I was thinking just a refuge island, like if you could walk 2 lanes out and then have an island and then go 2 more lanes, that might be better, with some bulb outs. But ultimately, and a lot of people were proposing bridges too, but bridges are expensive and they have big staircases, and a lot of times people don't use them because they don't want to walk all the way upstairs just to cross the street. So. But yeah, those are memories back in my undergraduate days with David Pruitt, who writes in as a double-digit super chat. Thank you. Always love your content, Rob. Keep up the good work. Hopefully Harriman, the city he lives in, gets a tracks light rail station sometime in the foreseeable future. Yeah, there's nothing yet. If you look at, it's fun wherever you live. If you live in a community of 50,000 people or more, to get federal gas tax money that you pay at the pump back into your community, your share of the federal tax money, the federal government requires that every community of 50,000 people or more put together a regional transportation plan. How, with financial constraints, the predicted money that's going to come in, how it's going to get spent in an equitable manner in the community over the next 30 years. So, if you look at the regional transportation plan for your area, you can see what transit improvements and highway improvements they plan to do. And there are no plans to expand the light rail system into the suburb of Harriman anytime in the next 30 years. Now, they update that plan every 3 or 4 years, so a future plan may include it, but at the moment, light rail stopped there. So I think there's an idea to run some kind of bus rapid transit thing, but hopefully they'll. A lot of the challenges, Utah kind of overdid it for the size of the market. They got very aggressive building out transit to the point where UTA got into some money trouble. Then the state legislature had to kind of come in and bail them out. It's been a good thing because now the state is treating transit the same way they treat roads, you know, and so that's good. They look at it as two tools to solve the same problem rather than, I think a lot of places look at roads as the correct answer and transit as a social welfare program that they're obligated to operate. And that's a shame. That's too bad they see it that way. But Utah doesn't see it that way. Utah's pretty aggressive building out transit, despite the bad examples we've been looking at today with Orem State Street. So thank you again, David Pruitt. Up next, Jeffrey B. Thank you for your super chat. Jeffrey writes, I love the channel. No need to respond. Too bad I am. But I love the fact that you are from where my family lives, Provo, Orem, Linden, Draper, and Salt Lake City. Yeah, I grew up in a poorer part of the metro. I grew up in Magna. But Salt Lake City it's a beautiful place. It gets cold in the winter, and I was excited to move away from. But it's a beautiful place if you love snow and skiing and outdoor activities and snowshoeing and things that I never have any interest in doing. Snow to me was an annoying thing that meant I had to go to the tire store and get snow tires mounted on my car, only to get to this time of year where clearly we're done with snow. I'm going to get the snow tires taken off April 1st, and April Fools, it snows all April, and then I have no snow tires. Or I keep the snow tires on, but then it's hot, and then I'm wearing out the snow tires. And even though it's a minor inconvenience that costs dozens or maybe hundreds of dollars, I decided to waste thousands and move to a more expensive place where I don't have to deal with that. So, but yeah, Utah's a beautiful state, and it's really exciting, Jeffrey, to hear that you've got some connections to Utah too. So thanks again for your super chat. Up next, Wretched Rob. I hope that's not a reference to me. Your super chat says, okay, can we ban the hairy dong? Sure, why not? I don't know what that's a reference to, but
It's a guy spamming in the chat.
yeah, it's a guy say, if you want to super chat with spam, I'll acknowledge it. Hairy dong is something that you deal with yourself. It's in your own pants. It's none of my business. And whatever you want to do, you want to do. It's a free country. So thanks for your super chat. I'm assuming you're referring to something else. But leave it up to your own imagination. Nick Pasternik's back again, double-digit super chat. Thank you very much, Nick. Nick writes, with Utah's explosive growth, do you think it would be worth it to expand the light rail to a full-blown metro system? BART was probably overkill back when it went through to the East Bay farmland. So, yeah, I mean, heavy rail is an interesting one, right? Because you have BART, and the other one I think about is MARTA in the. But I'm trying to think, what's the benefit over light rail? I think the closest Utah's going to get is, and this is just like pie in the sky dreaming, is you have diesel locomotives running Front Runner. Front Runner has aspects of full metro type stuff because it's heavy rail, it's not light rail. And that was interesting too. I took a tour of the Front Runner maintenance yard back in grad school, and I didn't know that the federal reporting for safety, if it's commuter rail, it's to the Federal Railroad Authority, but if it's light rail, even though it's a train and it runs on tracks, it reports to the Federal Transit Administration. So they're actually apples and oranges, that the commuter rail that runs with diesel locomotives is more like Union Pacific than it is the metro systems. I don't know these ones in between like MARTA and BART, which they report to, because I don't know enough about that. It'd be fun to look that up to see. But the kind of actually happening thinking with the Front Runner system, the commuter rail here, is upgrading it to have two tracks so that they can run the trains with a lot more frequency, right? So it's actual transit system, not sharing the rail tracks, having to wait for the train to pass itself. But bigger picture thinking, well, we don't want this to run on diesel forever. And diesel takes a long time to get going, and so that adds to the travel time of running the corridor, because every time you leave the station, light rail is electric. It just has all that torque like an electric car, just takes off and you're up to 55. Front Runner, the ding, ding, and it's like a train, and it just slowly gets up to 79 miles an hour. If it could have an electric motor with overhead wires and everything and go and just take off, it could run run the course. It might, I don't know, shave 5, 10, 15 minutes off of it. I don't know, but it would make it faster. And so I think that there's some thinking to go that direction. I've seen things to indicate the UTA's thinking that way, but I don't know that I've seen any actual plans of money to do that. I think right now they're just trying to put money together to double track the front runner. But I think that the challenge, like I was talking about earlier, I think the challenge Utah is going to face is it's not that big of a market. Utah is similar in size to Portland, Oregon, or Las Vegas. And so St. Louis, like they're reasonably good-sized metro, 2 to 3 million people, but it has a lot of transit. And so a lot of it is trying to get more ridership onto what we've already built before they build a whole lot more. They're leaning into bus rapid transit. They're actually kind of seem to be going the other way of trying to really stretch the dollar and get more bang for their buck out of things they build going forward, more so than going the other way of trying to build a more grandiose system like BART. So I don't know. There's nothing in the plans, the 30-year transportation plan, to indicate that they're going to build a more of a metro system, but never rule anything out. You know, there was a time when I was a kid where I don't think we ever thought there'd be a train, and then all of a sudden, you know, I'm in junior high and everybody's talking badly about this train that they're building. I had a YouTube social media post a week or so ago where I found the news article and was cleaning things out, where people were saying it was going to be this awful thing. And part of me wonders, are there things that going forward are going to be you know, making a lot of sense in the future, like a heavier transit system? I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, thank you again for your super chat. Oh, we're getting quite a few of them here. So thanks again, Nick. Next super chat, Dylan Bonner. Thank you very much. Dylan writes, I love the channel. Were you inspired by any other creators when you started on YouTube, or did you kind of have your own plan from the start? I had no plan from the start. I was working my radio job, and if I had been born 20 or 30 years earlier, it would have been a radio DJ doing top 40. You know, it would have been trying to get to Z100 in New York or Kiss FM in LA and take listener calls and play the jingles and just like really high energy, keep it going. I knew it was a dying thing. Tried to go into TV news. TV news fell apart in a bad way when I was supposed to graduate in 2009, 2010. So I stuck around doing radio, which had been most of my career. I was working at public radio and kept getting myself into trouble because I was treating it like top 40 radio, and it's not. You don't go on the classical station where they're like, this is Shostakovich's Third Symphony on the classical station where it is now 4:30 and time for the news. I'm Rob Sanders, and there's the news on classical station. Totally doing it wrong. But thankfully I had good bosses who let some 22-year-old idiot be an idiot on the radio because I thought I knew better than them because I was 22. And they let me stick around, and then through grad school I kept working at radio. And the day I quit my radio job, and I'm trying to get hired by engineers, and they're looking at my resume going, what? 14 years in radio? What kind of person is that? Shred it. I'm like, I got to make some money. I drove Uber and Lyft for a day, and I hated it. And I'm like, I'm just going to make a video. So I made a video, and somebody picked it up on Reddit, and and I had like 3,000 subscribers after one video. I'm like, well, that's fun. So I was like, I'll do a car review, and I don't know. And then I did a couple road ones. I go, well, that's kind of fun. So I kept doing more road ones. And then I was trying to get a job. I was doing construction. I did more of, and so I never really sat down and thought like, I want to copy another YouTuber per se. I was kind of doing what I'd been trained to do, which is write a TV news story, local news story, but do like top 40 radio production, and then I like put them together. And then I wore a green shirt and an orange vest because it looked like, I don't know, like security guards might leave me alone because I'm wearing an orange vest. And it's kind of worked. So that became the costume. I started wearing a hat when I realized how bald I looked. And then I just kind of I noticed that going deeper into the engineering topic actually made somebody interested to want to tune in. So I got thinking, you know what I was inspired by a little bit? The show Top Gear. You know what Top Gear could do? Is they could take a car I couldn't care less about, whether it was the world's smallest car or some supercar worth $2 million that was built in the 60s. I don't care about a Ferrari California or whatever the heck that thing was, but they made me care. They're so entertaining, I couldn't help but watch. And by the time I was done, I cared about that car, even though I didn't want to care about that car. And that's what I'm hopefully trying to do. I'm hoping somebody hit and run, this pops up in their feed, the stupid clickbait titles and thumbnails I have to make, and they click it, and they got sucked in, and they learned something new about traffic engineering or transportation planning or whatever. And I can take very knowledgeable people who work in the industry, put them on camera, bring them on, make people care about their work, because they've worked very hard to learn what they have. And I could come in as just a doofus TV radio guy with an engineering degree and say, hey, this guy's doing something really cool. You ought to pay attention to it. And it's exciting to hear that there are people who have been able to show, like one of my old, can't remember, I think there's a video where he talked about bulb outs. And he showed the clip in a city council meeting, and they approved bulb outs near the I think YMCA or wherever the kids go over to, their United Way or whatever they'd go to after school, across the street. They had to get the traffic to slow down at that crosswalk, did some bulb outs, worked like a charm. So that's gratifying. It's like, okay, you know, we're slowly changing transportation bit by bit to be a little bit better. And so that's kind of fun. So yeah, thanks again for that's Dylan. Thank you very much, Dylan. I appreciate that.
So Rob,
yeah.
When I first heard about your channel, I thought it was just going to be, a bunch of like why cars are amazing, why highways are amazing, and why we should all move to the Netherlands because it's so much better. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I don't know why. Somehow there's kind of this thing that, like, Not Just Bikes hates me. Maybe he does. I don't know. He once said, I one time got irritated because I had a video about hawk beacons and the orange flags that my friend Connor went out and demonstrated. And then he, Not Just Bikes, a few months later, made a video where he took everything I had introduced as potential ideas to try to make pedestrians more visible. None of them perfect, but things that engineers in cities have tried. And he dumped on every single one of them. And I finally had to make a comment like, dude, you just like took my video and dumped it upside down. And he defended himself saying, well, he just wasn't thinking about me at all. And that's true. He's got this huge YouTube channel, and I'm just this little, podunky one, a medium-sized one. But I can't help but think he hit every single thing. And, and I think we had some discussion, years back. He called me a car apologist. And I suppose I am. But you know why I apologize for cars? Because they're fun. No, because they're here, right? This is the built environment that we're in. Like we were talking about earlier on Orem State Street, it was a highway first. If we're going to play the game of strong towns, it's going to turn into a highway because that was its original job. And that's not what you want. If you make it a binary decision, it's bad for everybody, and you're going to end up with this binary decision where, okay, close all the businesses, it's a highway, right? No, but there are things you can do to try to meet in the middle to make it better. We're meeting in the middle in a bad way, but that doesn't mean there isn't a good way to meet in the middle. And the same way, if we want to make transportation better in the United States, you don't do it by sitting on an ideological tower and declaring that everybody sucks, right? You get in and you say, well, what's wrong with it? And then, okay, yeah, then I see this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. Okay, what's possible that we could do with this problem? You have a skeptical constituency and limited budget, and okay, maybe we can put in a hawk beacon. Not Just Bikes hated hawk beacons. I think it's a shame. I think, yeah, I agree. We should have a Netherlands-style street. That's great. But that's not what we have. This is what we have. We have a crosswalk. What can we do now on a limited budget to reduce fatalities? And then work from there to then figure out what the next step is.
I think that another factor that is sorely underappreciated by a lot of these European-style urban planners, right, is that they're dealing with the governments in Europe that are unitary, right? So there is a federal government in their capital, their parliament, and they make the decisions, right? And all the local governments are basically autonomized by the federal government, whereas we have a federal structure, right? So
Right.
it's hard to get anything moving with just enough inertia, because you're dealing with local governments, state governments, federal government, and they all have their own power, right?
Right.
That's not delegated. That is,
Right.
Power within, and then there's voters as well.
Right.
So it's hard to get something moving at a local level, but also at the federal level, you can't just pass something, because then the state government can block it, or the local government
Right.
can block it, or even the national government itself can block it, because there's separation of powers as well.
Right.
If the federal government, if the U.S. Congress passes a law and the president signs it, it's all for naught if the Supreme Court says, well, that's not in the Constitution, and just chucks it out.
Right.
Yeah, you
Right.
don't have that in the Netherlands, or France, or something like that.
Right. And I think that is a lot of the challenge is we live in a 10th Amendment environment, right? So the 10th Amendment of the Constitution says everything that isn't laid out specifically in the Constitution to the federal government is delegated to the people or the states, right? So roads are definitely a state baby, and then the state will even delegate it to cities and counties, and and all of this is privately owned, and so you're never going to have a moment where they just pass a law and suddenly we stop widening freeways. That's at a state level, right? And some states, even counties, like you see it in California, Los Angeles County, for the most part, it doesn't really widen freeways much anymore, at least in central LA. There doesn't seem to be a lot of desire to add capacity in the downtown area. You go up to Burbank and the valley of LA County, they do widen freeways. Go down to Orange County, they widen freeways, Inland Empire. So, but some places in Northern California don't widen freeways. And that's just within one state. And so, but in some ways it's kind of good. It's responding to the needs of the constituents of that area. There are some places where widening freeways make sense. I kind of get it. Like downtown LA probably would cost some of those freeway interchanges $5-6 billion to rebuild just the interchange and the freeway around it, which would have some benefit for a while. But maybe the argument is, if you're going to spend $5 or $6 billion, do you get better bang for your buck adding a line to the metro system? And so that's good. I like that better than just a top-down approach of Washington, D.C., saying whether you're in the smallest community of rural Wyoming or Brooklyn, that you're going to have the same transportation policy in both places. Well, both places are different contexts, and so so I think that is different. Is the Netherlands is a very small country that is very top down, that can apply something to the whole place all at once. The United States is a huge diverse area, and over time, I think a lot of the city style improvements that not just bikes would espouse from the Netherlands, you're going to see start at a bottom level in certain cities, and city by city. Like Carmel, Indiana, which you wouldn't think would be a place, has a lot of very European style design in it, and it's in Indiana, but they did it in an Indiana way that works for Indiana. So I think it's exciting. And so I don't dislike Not Just Bikes. I appreciate that he does a good job. I don't know why every live stream we talk about Not Just Bikes. He does a good job addressing problems, and one way to solve it. Not the way to solve it, but it is a very valid way to solve it. And it's fun then to see, I'm approaching it the other way. This is where we're at. How do we take apples off that tree and start to improve the system from the bottom up? So it's pretty exciting. Okay, on to the next one. So thanks again to, I think it was Dylan. Thanks again, Dylan, for your super chat. I appreciate it. Okay, Enrique Caraval. CLP. What currency is that? Is that Chile? I have to look that one up. But he's in the 4-digit club. I don't know what the exchange rate is on that, but thank you very much, Enrique. He writes, Que pasa loco? Road Guy Rob, greetings from Chile. Oh, so that must be Chile. Que pasa loco? Okay, I should know this. Loco's crazy. K Pasa, I'm crazy for Road Guy Rob, or Road Guy Rob is crazy. One of those two. But thank you very much, Enrique. I appreciate that for your super chat. Midwest Safety, and with a super chat, thank you, writes, should hawk flash phase be simultaneous flash? That is a good question. And it's something I should have asked Richard Nassy when I got a chance to interview him. He was great. Back then I was wearing my Class 0 vest that I'm in most of my videos, and he was horrified that I was out filming in public. He actually gave me one of his vests. I still have it. It was green, so I'd never worn it in a video, but it was a class 2 or 3 class vest. But he was wonderful to talk to about how he invented the hawk beacon, and he thought it was important for it to do the wigwag because he wanted to make it clear that it was, if it's solid red, the traffic code says, well, that's stop, and you have to wait for it to turn green. But if it wigwags, his thought was, oh, you treat it like a stop sign. But you make a good point that that's not actually the code. A railroad track that does the wigwag, ding, 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 with one light turning on and the other light turning on, like a hawk beacon does as well, that copies the railroad track, I can't run that. So let's say I'm at an old school railroad crossing. It has the beacon, but it doesn't have the arm that comes down. And it comes on, ding, 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 ding. I don't think I can run that, right? Like legally, even if I pull up to it and there's no train in sight, I think I'm legally obligated to stop for that. Maybe not. I'd have to look up the code on that. Wigwag usually also means stop. Blinking, right? So you have a red light that just goes blink, blink, like a traffic signal that's out of commission, right? It's just blinking red. That means it's a stop sign. You pull up, you stop, and when it's clear and your turn, you go. And so having the hawk beacon, the two lights blink, like you're saying, simultaneously, rather than wigwag, I think actually would probably be better code. And so that's kind of interesting that it wigwags. And I don't think you're the first person to bring that up. I haven't seen academic research or anything in engineering manuals to indicate any intention to change that. I don't think the new MUTCD changes that. But that's a good question, because I think that is worth bringing up. It is a little bit inconsistent to say, oh, this thing's wigwagging like a railroad crossing, but I can't treat a railroad crossing like a stop sign. Maybe you're onto something. Then the question is, well, do you need two at all? Could you just do a, and I think Richard Nassy's, because I think I asked him, why don't you just use a regular traffic signal head? And I think his thought was, well, if it looks like a regular traffic signal head and the light's out, the code says you have to come to a stop, and when a regular traffic light is burned out, you have to treat it as a stop sign. And I think he purposely had it have that weird doghouse shape to it, so it would look different. So it was kind of, I think that was his thinking on the wigwag, now that I think about it, was if you come to a railroad crossing beacon that's off, you don't treat it as a stop sign, you drive right through it. So I think he was thinking this is a railroad beacon. But he added a yellow at the bottom because, unlike a railroad crossing, he wanted drivers to have a little bit of warning before they, it just turned red on them. So anyway, that's a good question. I wonder if I still have his email. I'll have to ask him that sometime. But yeah, Midwest Safety, thank you very much for your super chat. I appreciate it. Oh, another one from Midwest Safety. Tried to make it a thread. Thanks for any consideration regarding Hawk. Well, thank you again. JR, with his or her super chat, probably his, your LS400 review response was incredibly hilarious. So I'm glad you like it. So that car's been in the family since my grandparents bought it. Those grandparents passed away. And it was really fascinating because my grandfather served in the Pacific in the U.S. Navy during World War II. And so it was in 1982, he saw the Toyota Cressida in his car review magazines, Motor Trend and stuff. And he bought a Japanese car, and he couldn't believe that he'd ever buy a car from Japan, and he loved it. It was his favorite car. The fuel injection, he says he'd go out on a chilly morning and it would just start right up. So he became a huge Toyota fan. And then he reads about this brand called Lexus. And they were spending $1 billion to create the perfect car. And it was going to be for sale for $39,999, a $40,000 car. And they were getting ready to retire. And I don't know how he persuaded my grandmother to spend this kind of money. They didn't really have it, but they made it work somehow. He said, let's get this car. There's never, ever going to be another car. The price is going to go up. It's nearly perfect. And so they bought it. It's got a pretty low VIN number, and it's in rough shape. It's been outside. There's a lot of peeling paint. Air conditioning doesn't work. Dashboard's starting to warp, But just for sentimental reasons, you just can't help but get rid of it because it's something that, my grandparents had and cherished, and I just love that car. So when Doug DeMuro reviewed the LS400, he got a couple of things wrong because, not because he did a bad job, but when you're going around reviewing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars, you can't be an expert in every car. And this is a car that I've ridden in since I was 4 or 5 years old. I know it very, very well. And so finally, when I was making videos in those early days, I just said, I'm going to make a video response to him because he doesn't quite get it right. And honestly, I was keyword sniping anyway. I thought, well, if I make a video that has the word Doug DeMuro in it, maybe it'll rank higher on the algorithm or whatever. But I'm really glad you enjoyed that review. It's still a fun car. When I come back to visit Utah in a few months, I'll re-register it for another year and drive it a little bit so it doesn't rot away. But it's neat. So. Thanks again for your super chat, JR. Midwest Safety again. Thanks again. You write in your super chat, you're the Mark Rober of highways. Mark Rober is a fun one. I think I started watching his because of the, does he do the glitter bombs, Mark Rober? I got sucked in for that. I thought that was fun. I'm trying to remember if Mark Rober, was he a BYU grad or is he just, I'm not sure. I know he worked for NASA for a while, but it's kind of fun to see people who might have gone to the same school. But thanks again, Midwest Safety. And I think we're getting caught up with the safe super chats here. This is good. James Lemmy, no comment, has a super chat. Well, thank you very much, James. I appreciate it. It helped. All of this has been wonderful. Get my gas so I can get up here, and I've been wanting to show you guys a really good stroad for a long time. So I think with that, we ought to start walking back to my car, unless it's closer for you to walk to your house, and then I can pick you up. But oh man, the regular chat's getting spammed. I wonder if there's a way to...
It's that one guy.
Yeah, how do I block him? Put user in timeout. Okay. Hopefully that made it go away. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Okay, well, hopefully that makes it a little bit better. So, okay, well, I'm going to start walking back to my car. We'll just walk by the bus station and then we'll call it a night. It's starting to get kind of chilly here.
Yeah.
Are you freezing?
A little cold.
A little cold?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to walk this way. Yeah, I was expecting it to be kind of hot and on this trip, and it ended up...
It's going to be 75.
I'll be home by then. Yeah, Utah's weird. It has very predictable winters and summers. The summers are kind of hot. They cool off at night, but dry heat. Not like Arizona, but more like, Los Angeles, but less humid. Maybe the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, And then the winters, you get kind of cold. Snow, hanging around freezing most days. But this time of year, early May is strange. It could be 90 degrees, it could be snowing. And it's not that it's really that unpredictable. It's like turning a light switch. Has the light switch flipped on or off yet, you know? So we'll walk by the bus rapid transit on our way back. You can see the transit that they were super scared of, that they don't want to put on Orem State Street, even though they have it on the other street. So sorry, it's I gotta figure out a way to clean the lens better. This is what you're seeing in your live stream. This is what it looks like right after you get LASIK surgery, or PRK in my case, where suddenly overnight I had 20/20 vision, where, you know, I was on my way to getting that. PRK takes a couple weeks to heal. But for the first year, I'm going, well, I don't know if this is an improvement, because I could see 20/20 and I have great vision at night, but every light has this like halo thing that comes off of it. I thought, well, maybe this was a mistake, but gradually it got better and better, and then now I don't have that problem anymore. So it ended up being a good thing. But oh, Paul's with the super chat. Wipe off your camera lens. I know. Let me try. Let's see if we can make it better here. Have some cloth or something. Any better? Or is it still haloing real bad? Oh, somebody I need to figure out a way to moderate these. We still having a spam problem? Okay. All right, well, now it's not as bad. But anyway, for a moment, you could see kind of what it was like to recover from, if you're ever thinking about PRK or LASIK, especially if you have a very bad prescription. Mine was, you know how some people say, I'm not sure if I could drive home without my glasses. I was not sure I could walk home without my glasses. It was pretty bad. And my grandmother passed away, the one who had the LS400. And my mother was kind, shared a little bit. She got a little inheritance, and it was just enough what she gave with me. It was all like the exact amount I needed for PRK, for LASIK surgery. And so I figured that'd be a good use of the money. And every single day, I am very grateful I spent the money on that. See, oh, we got a super chat. Let's see, paid $2 to get Harry Dong banned. Is it still showing up in your things? I thought I made him go away. Let me look. Message deleted. Okay, I think it shouldn't be showing up. Okay, good. They say he's gone. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to ban people, but if they're to the point where they're disrupting you being able to have a nice conversation with each other, then they got to go, you know?
Could have at least written Howard Stern or something.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, talking with my friend Connor here. He's been a big fan of watching all the Howard Stern C-SPAN videos on YouTube of people calling into C-SPAN to prank for the Howard Stern show. Now, a guy who's 70 years old but has the maturity of a teenager. In fairness, I don't think it was Howard Stern calling into those shows. I think okay, somebody writes, how's the bus service on the Stroads? I haven't taken the bus on Orem State Street, but I know the one, so that's the regular city bus there. But you'll see in a moment, any moment, the bus rapid transit will come by. Unfortunately, I'm not parked on where the bus rapid transit's going to do me any good, because I got to go north up to my car. But So there's, you can watch it go by. There's the bus rapid transit. It's got its own lane. This project actually made the road better for cars because they widened the road. You have more vehicle lanes than ever. There's a city bus going by. Max Cozy 163 with a super chat. Hey, Max Cozy writes, all the big freeways around me are sunken freeways. Why don't more cities have sunken freeways? Love your vids. Hey, thanks. So the challenge is moving dirt's very, very expensive. We got a couple of super chats here. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I catch up with all these. So when you're trying to build a highway, we talked earlier about how the most expensive thing is building the bridge, right? But if you're going subgrade, especially in a city, you got to deal with utilities. You got all the pipes you got to move. You got to figure out, okay, all the water when it rains that lands on the freeway. How do you get the water out of there? Where do you move the dirt once you've dug it out? Do you have to put it in a truck and drive it off truckload by truckload? And so it could get really expensive. In the early interstate era, they would try to, if the freeway was cutting through an existing city or neighborhood, they try to go above or below grade, mainly so the cross streets, they didn't have to keep going up and down like a roller coaster. They could go up and stay there, sit on dirt and it would cross all the streets, or they'd go down and then go underneath and cross under all the streets. Under was preferable because it's quieter. A lot of the noise stays down the pit. Your line of sight, you can look across the freeway and not see it. And it's prettier for the people on the freeway too, because you can do lots of nice plant life. You don't have to see the ugly buildings you're passing by. But money, where do you put all that dirt? That's a lot of work. And so they wound up a lot of times doing above, because then you just bring dirt in and dump it on there and go up and over. And in the countryside, they try to put the freeway just barely above grade level. They were basically bringing in soil that could handle the weight of the road and putting it at surface and just trying to make it as smooth. And then what happened is it would develop around these country freeways. There's another bus rapid transit. And I've got to stop and tighten the tripod up here. It's starting to really wobble as soon as we get across the street here. And so you end up with weird things now where it ends up being the middle of the city seemingly, but the freeway is sitting at grade, So that's a neat gift if you have a area where they went ahead and paid good money to put the road below grade. I really think it's about one of the best ways to do it. So thanks for your super chat. Let me get back to that here. That was Max Cozy 163. So thank you for your question and your contribution. Oh, got a double digit. Laza 92. Well, thank you very much, Laza 92, for your super chat. Right. Hey, Rob, before you go, is there a city-state in the country known for being particularly efficient at completing infrastructure projects on time and ahead of schedule? Definitely not here in CA. Thanks. You know what I've noticed with California is that they use a lot of labor that's, they do good work. As I've watched like the Caltrans projects, when it's all done, it's very, very good quality. But have you ever gone out and noticed they don't really work on the freeways too often nights and weekends? And I think that's with the memorandum of understandings that they have with some of the unions and contractors. They have to pay extra to work nights and weekends. And so I think they really try to make it more of a 7 to 4, 7 to 5 kind of job, Monday through Friday. If you were working around the clock, running 3 shifts a day, 7 days a week, well, you get the project done 3 times, 4 times as fast. It's the stuff that I've seen I think some of the I-15 project stuff in Utah that got done really fast, they were working around the clock. Labor was also used to be a lot cheaper in Utah, so paying overtime and things for around the clock work probably wasn't as bad of a hit. I can imagine prevailing union wages and things on a Caltrans project, working them late and weekends. I imagine that's probably quite a bit of money, and that's probably my guess why you don't see them working around the clock like they would in other places. And it probably also matters how important the project is. In Riverside County, they do the project only over the weekend because the 60 freeway through Riverside is so important. It's easier to basically just don't touch the freeway all week. Friday at like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., shut the whole freeway down and have it closed till like 3 a.m. Monday morning, and just go like gangbusters for 2.5 days, trying to get as much done as they can in one shot. So I think a lot of it just depends. The I-15 project in Utah, they went around the clock because I-15 is the main street for the state of Utah. It is the freeway, and so without it, the economy suffers. They figure it's probably worth the extra expense, but it's difficult for me to judge, to say when I see a project getting done fast in Utah, is it because Utah's better at delivering the project in California, or is it that California has extra constraints that they have to deal with that limit their ability to get it delivered? And the other is California is such a huge state that I know Caltrans chopped up into a bunch of regions, and some regions may be better at delivering a project than others. So I'm afraid, instead of giving you an answer, I think your question just poses more questions. That makes me curious to think about that. But I appreciate you with your super chat there, Lays92. Thank you very much. And then Paul writes, again, thank you for your super chat. Check your email once you get home. Okay, I will do that. And Paul writes again, okay, rule 0 for live streams. Enable slow mode. Set it at 5 or 10 seconds. Nobody needs to message faster than that. You might need a longer interval once you hit 1 million subs. Well, you're very optimistic of what's possible, but I like your optimism. And even 10 seconds cuts down on the spam a ton. Yeah, I need to find out if there's some default settings, because I think that's the first time I've seen a outright spam attack. And I've been there. I was the guy. I did some spamming in high school, early internet days. It wasn't as bad as my brother. He got a whole message board shut down, but that's another story. I think it was for, I'm trying to remember, it was he and his friend, and they were spamming the message board for, I think it was either Haley Joel Osment or Jake Lloyd. I can't remember which, but they were like in 9th grade. It was early internet when spamming was more acceptable, I guess. And they, those are some good times. Wonder if we can cross here, or if we need to see if we got time before the light changes, or if we missed it. Oh, we missed it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Do you want to, because I'm parked up on 4th, do you want to just go home and I'll meet you and give you a ride to your car? Sure. Are you doing okay? Or are you cold? I'm okay. 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 Let's see, I'm going to look at, make sure I haven't missed any. Okay. Go back to live here. Oh, great. We got another one. Okay, hold on. Hide this user. Okay. Okay, well, keep watching and see if... we'll
take the live stream to in and out, right?
Take the live stream to in and out. Yeah, that in and out, it's kind of hard to see. I can probably zoom in on it. Was the first one in the county. Where is it? There it is. And I think I was friend of mine and I think we were in my undergrad days. I think customer 30 something or 20 something. I used to save the receipts. I'd put them all on my wall. In the early Facebook days, I'd take pictures, of every week of how all my receipts. And yeah, what saved me from getting totally fat is I've never been a fan of animal style. In-N-Out, of course, has this animal style whatever where they put the special sauce and all this, very high calorie, high fatty stuff. It's delicious. You can put it on the fries and I never cared for it. In fact, I don't even really like their sauce. I tend to have mustard instead of the spread. And now I can't eat the bun because of my diet, because digestion issues. So, it's like if you're having a protein style burger, mustard instead of the spread, it's actually kind of healthy. Extra tomatoes. It makes a pretty good meal, I think. But okay, let's see if we can cross here. Let's see, you might push the button. I'll check the chat again. Everyone in the chat can block. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd love to. Oh, you got another one. Okay, let me get across the street. Yeah, I need to learn how to time people out. Got a super chat from Paul again. Thank you very much, Paul. Writes, talking about spamming. We all did it in our youth, but it doesn't mean we have to accept it carte blanche as adults. Well, I agree. It's also the internet was in its infancy back then, and it was we really didn't have etiquette rules yet of what was acceptable and what wasn't. And see if animal styles are on the secret menu and it's this famous as a secret anymore. Yeah, In-N-Out's so-called secret menu is not a secret. It's just, it allows them to they want to have a simple menu. When you pull up to In-N-Out, they don't want to have a lot of stuff on there, but they're very happy to make all the secret menu stuff because it's really not a secret. It's just recombining the existing ingredients in a different way. The dumbest one of all I ever had was the Flying Dutchman. I see all the traffic's approaching fast. You're like, I hope they stop. The Flying Dutchman is you take 2 hamburger patties, put a piece of cheese between them, and that's it. And it costs as much as the double hamburger. but it was fine. But I had to go buy a hamburger bun and put it on there because it seemed dumb to eat all by itself. Oh man, how do I make this guy go away? Okay, remove. Did he go away? Oh, no. He's welcome to spam the super chat. He just can't spam all the other stuff.
Unfortunately, I think what you need is a moderator.
What?
What you need is a moderator.
Yeah, I know. I don't have a staff. How do I? It's not letting me click on it. Okay. Adam writes, I once had a KFC double down. Blocking only helps you personally. It doesn't block the person for everybody else. You need mods to actually time people out for everyone. Okay. Well, I'll have to figure that out because I don't typically have the one man banding everything. Makes it difficult to moderate it. Especially because these live streams are fun, but sometimes they go 3-4 hours, and so having somebody trying to say, hey, did somebody mind sitting there for 3 or 4 hours? But we do need to do it if people are ruining the chat. Well, that's no fun. Have that. Hey, we got a super chat from where'd it go? Blaze Bacon. Any advice on picking civil engineering or planning as a path? So civil engineering. So there's kind of like 3 elements to the transportation system. So there's operations, which is like how the thing works, trying to keep the cars moving, timing the traffic signals, you know, getting contracts to have people paint the lines and repave the road, maintain things. That gets more on the civil engineering side. The far opposite end of that would be planning. So that's getting in and trying to work with politicians and stakeholders to figure out kind of big picture what it is you're going to do. So you're not getting into the intricate details of how it's designed, but you're trying to figure out where the road should go. And engineering and planning do overlap when it comes to design. So it's like getting in and trying to figure out, okay, what, sorry, I'm doing two things at once here. Sorry about that. What you have a transportation corridor, you want to improve it. So you sit down and you try to figure out all the ways to improve it. So it's putting spaghetti on the wall and coming up with, we can widen it, we could add transit, we could widen a different road. You know, you could think of all the different things you want to do. And then going through the entire environmental impact statement process, which is what you have to do to get federal money for your project, if you're going to even partially fund it. And that's a very legalistic, long, bureaucratic process that involves engineering and planning and lawyers and politicians and every public meetings and everything. And that's a place where they both meet. A lot of that stuff is at the consulting firm level. So it's, you go work for a consulting firm who maybe focuses on trying to get through all the legal documents to get the project approved and funded. Maybe you work for a different consulting firm that does the design work, goes out, measures everything, and comes up with something that a contractor could use to build the road. That gets more civil engineering. Planning would be going the other way of saying, well, how are we going to pay for it? Big picture over the next 30 years, what are we going to do? How does the land use interact with it? You know, getting in and trying to figure out the zoning, you know. And so it's kind of like the more engineering you get, the more you might get into design work and civil engineering stuff unrelated to transportation. The planning side, you get more into land use and politics. Engineering, I think, pays better, but it also can be, civil engineering is notoriously, a lot of those consulting firms overwork their people. Planning, it can be demanding to find a job, and once you're in, it's usually a government job, you don't pay as well. But you can do consulting firms in both cases. You're in the middle, you know. They're both valid tracks. I do think it's easier for an engineer to shift into planning than it is later for a planner to get into engineering. But engineering, you can get a job with a bachelor's. Planning, it's a little harder. Usually you have to go get a master's in urban planning somewhere. But watch this car, make sure it doesn't turn left on us. It's doing pretty good. But so yeah, I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts on it. Myself, I given the choice, did civil engineering. It was harder, but I appreciated that planning seemed to kind of, a lot of the planning staff, professors and things, kind of already made up their mind that cars are bad, and the goal of their profession is to help phase out cars. And I'm a little too pragmatic for that, and I'm saying, no, cars are here, so what do we want to do about it? And civil engineering, you know, 30, 40 years ago might have been very pro-car, only car, forget everybody else. But modern civil engineering is actually very thoughtful. Some of the most pro-bicycle people you run into are civil engineers. A lot of them ride their bikes to work and stuff. If you go back and look at the video I had about the stoplights bouncing up and down, and I interviewed a UDOT guy, Mark Taylor, I think was his name. You look at the background of the Zoom interview with him, there's his bike. He's got this really nice like carbon fiber bike. I'm guessing he rides it to work, you know. And so I do think today's civil engineering is a lot more thoughtful than its reputation suggests. But that's not trying to discourage you from planning. It's just, you know, I'm biased because I chose. Now, civil engineering does mean you're going to have to go back and take some math classes you don't want to take. But you can get, if dumb radio DJ here can suffer their way through the math classes, you can too. You know, they're possible to pass. You just gotta, they're frustrating, they're a little scary, and then you get through them and then you find they're not that bad. So that said, what the heck is a differential equation? I passed that class and I still don't know what they are. They were just like really bad puzzles, like memorize the order of just doing these steps and put the numbers in it. And I'm like, okay. But I don't know, like conceptually calculus, I know what that is, but I'd have no clue what conceptually a differential equation is. Okay, we're almost to my car, so let's get caught up and then we'll wrap up here. Okay, we got, let's see. Oh, Paul with a very, very generous contribution. Well, thanks again. It says, I donate more, but YouTube limits you. And I have another stream coming up. Well, I'm very glad that you're out supporting people's live streams. That means a lot to me, and I'm sure it'll mean a lot to other streamers you support. You know, part of why news in the country got rough is because we all stopped paying for news, canceled our subscriptions, and when all the news is free, you get free quality news. And so I appreciate each of you being here tonight to hang out, chat, and talk transportation. I really appreciate each of you who've chipped in a little bit. That's been really great. And you know, it's very exciting to have you know, your support to, you know, explore transportation and see if we can all learn a little bit more from it. And you know, I'm really thrilled to hear when somebody decides to major in civil engineering and go into transportation, because I know you got enthusiastic people going into the profession who are ready to be excited and enthusiastic, but also patient and realize that this stuff's not easy and it's it can take a lot of work, you know. So, oh, Paul writes again. Thanks again, Paul. One important topic is e-bikes, going 20 miles an hour with minimal pedaling. But living in Florida between rain and 110 degrees temperatures, cars are the only option. Yeah, so one thing I thought about is we have sidewalks for pedestrians, and okay, putting those in. And we've got highway lanes for cars. But every time I've ever rented a scooter, only one time I rode an e-bike, I thought, you know, it's too bad there isn't like this middle thing that we built everywhere. So no matter where you went, you had it. That was specific for scooters, e-bikes, bicycles. Because I think you mentioned the rain and the temperature, but the other is, I don't know that I feel confident enough that I'd take an e-bike out on that road there, and I don't think I'd feel comfortable riding on the sidewalk, because at that kind of speed could mess up a pedestrian, and inevitably a cop's going to stop me and say, hey, don't ride your bike on the sidewalk. And I say, well, where am I supposed to ride it? You know, and an e-bike in particular, or scooter, I sometimes rent the Lime or Bird scooters when I'm filming, because well, sometimes in downtown areas it's easy to park once, although those scooters are expensive to rent. But I felt the same way. I go, well, I'm just not sure, you know, there isn't a bike lane everywhere, and I don't know, I do think e-bikes have their place, but we have to kind of make the place for them. Okay. Okay, regular chat here. We got TH. How are you doing, Rob? Do you have a part-time job? Or are you able to support yourself full-time with YouTube? And hold on, my battery's coming unplugged. Oh, it's because the battery bank is gone. Okay, well, we'll probably have to wrap it up here. Yeah, at the moment, I'm supporting myself with YouTube, but I'm making radio wages, which, if you know anybody in radio, is not very good. So I describe it as I make similar to a Utah school teacher without the benefits. So, oh, come on, how do I get rid of this thing? Oh, we got a very generous super chat from Steve Krakalik, and this stream is going to cut out any second, so I got to go really fast here because the battery bank is gone. Hey, Rob, love your videos. Have you considered doing videos that guide new and seasoned drivers how to drive while encountering strange road conditions and odd infrastructure, or things about road infrastructure that drivers ed fails to teach? So I thought about doing a driver's ed series, but the problem with the driver's ed series is that I need to take the time to edit it, and you guys are expecting transportation videos, and I feel like if I took the sidetrack and did driver's ed videos, we'd end up in a situation where you then you feel cheated that you're not getting the transportation video. So a lot of it's a capacity issue. I have about 20 years worth of ideas at the rate I'm able to make videos, and that list gets bigger and bigger every month. So we're never running out of topics. The problem is just on the limited income I have, I've got to do all the jobs. And so I do them as fast as I can. Driver's ed series would be a lot of fun, but let's see. But thank you, Steve, for a very, very, very generous double-digit club contribution. I really appreciate that. And I'd talk with you more about it, except the phone's about to die. And B with a super chat as well. No comment, but thank you very much, B. B is in the letter B, not B is in Andy Griffith's mom. So anyway, I think we got to call it here because the phone's about to die. But you all have been very kind tonight. This has been a lot of fun to walk along this street in all of its glory and see the canvas that future generations will hopefully paint something better on, even if the current crop of city leaders are pumping the brakes a little bit. But this is not special. This is every suburb in America has this sort of potential, and it'll be exciting to see what we end up doing. So, okay, well, you all have a good night, and thanks again for joining. Now I got to figure out how do I end a live stream.